You ever have a relative, like an aunt, an uncle, or a grandparent that had a crazy collection of toy soldiers or salt and pepper shakers and the like? Well, apparently there are thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people that have done the same thing. And I have been staring at, literally, check this out. This is the stack of folders and archives on just hobbies, if you can believe it or not. And like 4 of these folders are just on collections. So I have been staring at this for a long time. I finally decided to tackle it. It might take me weeks. Heck, it might even take me months to get through these. But talk about some really strange people, amazing characters, and some amazing collections of things. We've got whittling, carving, miniatures, and all the way in the back it's miscellaneous. God knows what's in there. But I've just decided finally, again, however long it takes, we're going to get through hobbies for the next few weeks. So join me for an amazing deep dive into Strange as It Seems hobbies up next here on the weekly episodes of Strange as It Seems. Welcome back. This is Jeff Hicks, curator of the Strange as It Seems archives and grandnephew of John Hicks, who created Strange as It Seems back in the late 1920s. We're going to dive into hobbies, starting off with collections. There are several folders on just collections themselves. I grabbed the first one off the top, and there's an amazing cast of characters just in here alone. So without any more, let's dive in. We've got, first off, I think that this historical one is pretty interesting. I don't know if you ever heard of Dr. Samuel Johnson, celebrated English writer, but he collected orange peelings. Kind of an amazing story. The famous literary dictator saved orange peels, right? Touched every lamppost he passed with his cane, and had a household of decrepit men, women, and animals. What a character this guy was. Over in England, Dr. Samuel Johnson, a writer of considerable discernment, used to wrap every paling in the fences he passed, and if he chanced to miss one, he would go back and start over. The portly doctor believed that this precaution kept him well, and to ensure his being in the pink, he collected huge quantities of orange peel and rolled himself downhill whenever he had a chance. But he was an ailing man for most of his life, and at length he developed a dread of passing the mouth of an alley in Leicester Square, being firmly convinced that he would die if he did so. And here's an interesting fellow with a very strange collection of Strange as It Seems cartoons, believe it or not. We've got here's I guess Barney Matica is the USO director, but he wrote this one in on Joseph Baker. He's collected every Strange as It Seems daily cartoon since July 2nd, 1934, and I guess from this article, that's when it first started appearing in the Maycomb Daily Journal. The July 2nd, 1934, Joseph Baker, who celebrated his 77th birthday on Sunday, this is back in 1943, started saving the clippings because they interested him and provided light reading. He's continuing the collection, beginning the 24th volume. I might have found one of these, recently I just found somebody who bound up some amazing, catalogs. So I think there's a ton of people who collected Strange as It Seems cartoons. Each volume has about 125 each. And the soldiers, I guess, at the USO enjoy the cartoons immensely, Barney Matica, the director, stated. They like to read something short and entertaining, which is how I hope you guys find these strange and unusual stories as well. Here's an incredible collector. Here's Alfred Scully. He's known as the world's #1 baseball fan. He's collected over 2,000 baseball pictures. His favorite one goes all the way back to 1866. He's got a team picture of the Pacific Coast League champions, and I've got a letter here from the Pacific Coast Baseball League, who basically found this guy, Alfred Scully. Crazy guy. And then here we go from the Merced Baseball Association, where Alfred Scully was located. He said, my collection of baseball player photographs consists of approximately 2,000 individual pictures with an investment of around $5,000. My most treasured and expensive photograph is an original of the first Pacific Coast League Club champions, called the Pacifics, back in 1866, if you can believe it. Mostly individual autograph photos, including Jim Murtry's New York team of 1889. That was champions in the league in the world. He's got Cap Anson's Chicago White Sox of the same year. The lineup consisting of John K. Tenner, who later became governor of Pennsylvania, crazy. The Bostons with Radbourne and Brothers. Connie Mack as a catcher and infielder for the Washington, Amos Rusi and Frank Bancroft of the 1889 Indianapolis Club. And here's a great photograph of Alfred with his extraordinary collection, a ton of handwritten letters as well. But what an extraordinary collection from Alfred Scully. And here we have Mrs. E.D. Fisher from Goose Creek, Texas. She's collected hundreds of dolls, and we've got here a wonderful photograph of her and her extraordinary doll collection, and even a really nice letter here that goes into quite detail. But her collection includes dolls made from needles, rice, bark, lobster shell, nuts, corn cobs, and dehydrated apples, and her smallest dolls are dressed fleas. And here's an interesting collector, Fred Steining. He's from Pittsburgh, and he collects voice autographs. And apparently, I guess it started, he said, I started my hobby about July of this past summer. You see, I'm partially blind. And so he got the inspiration. He spent the summer at Chautauqua, I guess is a place where a lot of famous people come through. He noticed this guy, Mr. Ed Rollins, came to Chautauqua with his collection of written autographs. And it gave him the inspiration to collect voice autographs. And apparently his collection includes even Thomas Edison and Admiral Byrd. And a fascinating hat collector. How about Elias Lustig? He was president of Adam Hats. He's collected over 2,000 hats that belong to kings, presidents, governors, mayors, and other notables. He apparently has one hat in his collection, and this is back in the 1940s, I guess. Yeah, 1943 or so. But he has one hat at that time that was worth $20,000, a beaver skin hat. Nice collection here of Mr. Elias Lustig. Here's a rather interesting collection. The International Wishing Well. This is Maud Ellen Lynch in Sioux City, Iowa. She's a radio personality, and her theme was I Wish You Well. And she apparently started collecting these bottles of sea, lake, and river water sent to her from all over the world. Got a delightful photograph here of Maud Ellen Lynch and her small home. Quite a bit of material too. Here's the first list. This was one she made years ago of all the different places: Floyd River, Kalani River, the Ganges, Rhine River, St. Lawrence, all of that. But that was just the beginning. She now has a list, or at least at this time, look at this, front and back from all over the world. Crazy how she started it. Now for the story of the famous wishing well. My little house on the highway is named I Wish You Well. 7 years ago, when I began broadcasting the Lady About Town Hour, I decided to close with I Wish You Well. I broadcast for 6 years, not this year. I decided to have a wishing well for my home and wrote friends for water from the Atlantic, Pacific, Gulf, and Great Lakes. And so she just started this collection, and now is, at this time, quite a collection. I wonder if any of her family still has that, but a beautiful photograph here of the wishing well. 200 historic wonders from all parts of the world. This one cracked me up. Here's Frederick Giffaniello, Newark, New Jersey. He's been collecting pupils' excuses for being absent. He's got a collection of over 700 and he wrote a letter with a bunch of these examples, too many to read, but they're cracking me up. She's got one here. He's got one here. Dear teacher, James leaves home every day to go to school, and if he doesn't go, I cannot say where he goes, and I cannot help it. I just wrote to tell you I don't know where he goes. If you want to know, ask him. How about that? Or how about this one? Please excuse Peter as he has an abscess on his rectum, but on the whole, he's doing all right. This is crazy. There's a bunch more here. Too many to read, but Mr. Giffen Yellow with the Teacher's Excuses collection. And here we have Charlie White, Portland, Oregon. He has a collection of more than 50,000 framed photographs of movie stars. Love to see that collection, huh? Here's a letter to Charles White, The Cavalcade of American Motion Pictures, complete biography of movies since 1887. Crazy. So many people have asked me why I've never sent my hobby in to you, because strange as it seems, it's the only kind like it. Largest in the world. Fits in my storeroom basement, 37 feet by 27 and a half feet. And crazy. Telling the age they were born, how many children, all of that. If there's a relative of Charlie White out there with this collection, would love to see a photograph, because apparently he sent in a couple photographs that had to be returned. But let me know if you're a relative or know what happened to this collection. Any of you have ever collected bottles? We have Stanley Davis from Old Lyme, Connecticut. Here's a collection of 8,000 bottles. A couple of, actually a article here in Popular Mechanics about him. I guess that's where John Hicks found out about it in 1934. 8,000 bottles, largest and most valuable assortment in the country. Even Bernie here, our cat, finds that rather fascinating. Another fascinating collection here from the 10-year-old John Moffat. This was back in 1936, and I think it came back again in 1941. Reading, Pennsylvania has a collection at the time. He started with 1,500 medals and badges in 1936, and by 1941, he had 4,000 of them. Here's a picture of him as a kid with his original collection, and then a little bit older, I guess, as he was a student in Penn State. But tons of handwritten letters from John Moffat, and quite the collection of medals and badges. And here's one from Austin McMahon. He's a Trans-Canada Airlines employee, collects moths, and he finds them, I guess, every morning on the hangar windows. It's a great photograph of his extraordinary moth collection, and a letter from the Canadian National Railways, the publicity representative from the Canadian National. He has, I guess, 29 different varieties now of moths, which he picks off the outside of the windows of the hangar in the mornings. And the Reverend Carl H. Moore, Baptist minister, he's apparently collected 720 pictures of Christ. He sent in a couple of photographs, and strangely enough, I've never seen this in the archives. I have the negative from one of these photographs of the Reverend Carl Moore, and a letter from the First Baptist Church. There's his, actually a photograph of his collection around him. Apparently 720, thinks it might be the largest collection of representations of Christ. As he started collecting in 1937 while touring Europe and the Holy Land. My favorite part, though, is this P.S. at the bottom. It does seem strange that a Baptist preacher should collect pictures of Christ. Even now, some of my brethren condemn me for such a dangerous practice. We had one in last week's episode about arrowheads, but here's another guy, C.A. Irvine from Reynoldsville, Pennsylvania. Apparently he's collected arrowheads from all 48 states. How about that? This is before Alaska and Hawaii had actually become states, and there was only 48 U.S. states. But here is C.A. Irvine. Some photographs here of his collection from all 48 of the U.S. states. And a rather interesting collector here, Faye Littleton from Kansas City. She's collected 27,000 matchbooks And apparently, it looks like she wallpapered an entire apartment. Here's a couple of photographs of it. Amazing letter here too as well. She said, listening to your program tonight, there was a Strange as It Seems radio show, about 600 broadcasts across the CBS network. She reminded me again that I had not answered your nice letter, so here goes, and I hope it will be of interest. I've collected matchbooks for the past 9 years, although I did not work very hard at it until early 1935 when I found that I had 2,700 covers, and it was interesting enough to rate an article in one of our local papers. And at that time, I set my goal for 5,000, expecting to quit if or when I got that many. And I now have more than 27,000, including this one she sent, which is a matchbook cover of her own. Thank you for Faye Littleton, and this lovely Christmas card. How about this? Here's wishing you a matchless Christmas happiness. May all your troubles go up in smoke. Hope everything strikes you just right. Flash! In case this hasn't struck you before, here's warm good wishes for a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. One of her Christmas cards. Crazy. What a collection for Faye Littleton from Kansas City. And the strangest one of all from just this folder, by the way. Quite a bit more to go in hobbies, but we'll wrap up this folder in this episode with Mrs. Hannah Lutz, 83 years old at the time that this was published. John Hicks was trying to get apparently a confirmation of this from Hannah Lutz. She had saved 24 pounds of her own hair. The whole purpose was basically to stuff a pillow for her casket. Here's a photograph of Hannah Lutz, and finally, in 1940, a letter from her heirs. Apparently, she has succeeded. The son of Hannah Lutz wrote a handwritten letter. I'm in charge of Mother's property and belongings. Mother lost her mind the past 4 years, got very feeble 2 years ago, and I was home a short time before my younger brother was home and had her taken to the hospital. But what an extraordinary collection, I guess, of hair, and she was buried with it, enough to stuff a pillow for her own casket. Hannah Lutz. Well, that wraps it up for this episode. If you like strange stories like this, by the way, please hit all the bells below for like, subscribe, follow, and by the way, if you have a collection of your own or interesting hobby of your own, drop it in the comments below. I'd love to see. This is just something that was kind of strange and unusual for the 30s and 40s and 50s when Strange as It Seems was running. But to give you an idea of what we have to go through, we've covered 2 folders so far. The John Hicks scrapbook was last week, and then I delved into collections. We still have this many to go, if you can believe it. Collections, woodworking, whittling, carving, miniature models, hobbies with animals. Crazy. Lots more to go. But before I go, I'll leave you with the quote from John Hicks from his first book in 1928 when he launched Strange as It Seems. The author launches this book of the curious in nature and humankind on the vast sea of public opinion with the hope that it will fulfill its mission to entertain and acquaint its readers with some of the marvels of the world in which we live.